Good evening, guys. Bill McMillan here with NDWX.com. Just before 6:30 on Wednesday evening as we record this video update, and before we get into some of our latest thinking when it comes to the severe weather outbreak that's going to unfold tonight, we want to stress the importance of having some sort of means of getting the latest watches and warnings communicated to you. They're going to be coming out and potentially coming in a fast and furious situation here as we go through the next few hours. It is absolutely vital that you have some sort of way of getting that communication as these warnings come out. We're taking a look at the latest visible satellite image this evening, and we think that storms will begin to initialize across eastern portions of Iowa and northwestern portions of Illinois over the next hour or so. And once those guys pop, they're going to develop in a rather rapid and explosive fashion, we think, across this general area over the next few hours. The Storm Prediction Center continues a moderate risk of severe weather for central and northern portions of the state, and this is significant. We think the greatest tornado threat lies across northern portions of Illinois into northwestern Indiana. Now, that's not to say that a spin-up tornado can't occur across central portions of the state as well later on tonight. But the focus that we have locally, and when I mean locally it is central Indiana, is more on the damaging straight line wind or potentially what will be a derecho type event moving through here as we go into the overnight hours, meaning sometime in that 10 to 1 a.m. Time frame. Again, this is going to be a fluid situation. It's more of a nowcast situation, really, to be honest, at least in my opinion. I think short-term forecast radar products are struggling mightily, the majority of them anyway, with handling the overall evolution of things as they begin to unfold as those storms develop to our northwest and move off to the southeast. A couple of things I would caution if you're looking at some of the forecast radar products, and there's been a lot that has been posted on social media, which is great. You know, we're all about getting the latest weather information out to you. I would stress to really maybe not pay so much attention to the timestamps on those screenshots or those images that you see, because I'm afraid what's going to take place is a lot of these storms, once they get going, are going to race off to the southeast in a quicker scenario than what maybe some of the forecast radar products would show right now. The second thing that I would stress is that what's likely to take place is that the overall storm track is going to be further to the south and west than what some of the forecast radars out there are showing right now. So just a couple of takeaways, and we'll keep an eye on that, obviously, as we move into the late evening and overnight hours. As we mentioned, this is a look at the latest HRRR forecast radar, and I'm showing you this because I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of what we think is going to be the evolution of things as we go into the late night hours. And again, I have no problem really with those individual supercell type storm setup here. Look, if you will, on the HRRR across northern portions of Illinois and extending into northwestern Indiana. But what the HRRR does is kind of keep that same look overall as it drops to the southeast into the early morning hours on Thursday. This would be valid at 4 a.m. Thursday. And I think what we're going to see is what will be a development of supercells across northern Illinois kind of morph into more of a congealed line of storms that begins to bow out and potentially turns into a derecho or a widespread damaging wind type setup as it moves across central Indiana late tonight and into the wee morning hours on Thursday. We'll certainly keep a close eye on it. Now, the other thing to mention here too, guys, is the fact that we have some incredible moisture beginning to load up here into central Indiana, and dew points are going to approach, actually, as of this video update, dew points are already into the lower 70s across many central Indiana reporting sites. Dew points may climb to the mid to upper 70s later tonight. And when you factor in PWATs or precipitable water values that approach or exceed 2 inches, The threat also is going to be present, as we've been mentioning, for localized flash flooding, particularly where thunderstorms train over the same area. So we really have a plethora of severe weather items on the plate. Really, if you want to get right to it, we've got obviously the tornado potential, particularly across northwestern Indiana. Again, a spin-up tornado certainly not out of the equation across central Indiana later on tonight. A widespread damaging wind event is more likely across central parts of the state, we believe. And then you have the chances of hail, obviously the localized flash flooding as well. So all in all, just a very busy night ahead. I would encourage you, there's so many talented weather folks across central Indiana trying to communicate all this information to you as well. Instead of naming one by one, which would take up so much time this evening, we would just encourage you to search the hashtag INWX on Twitter, and that'll bring up a whole slew of talented individuals that we would encourage you to follow. They're trying to communicate the latest information and the latest data to you as well. Ultimately, we're here just to keep you safe. This isn't about any sort of doomsday scenario that we're trying to communicate or alarm you by any stretch of the imagination, but we want to be very transparent at the same time and communicate the significance of this severe weather outbreak that we think unfolds later on this evening. This is one that has several ingredients coming together to produce a major outbreak, and one that potentially is quite impacting across the state, particularly central Indiana. Guys, again, before we leave, you have some sort of way of getting the latest watches and warning information that are going to be coming later on tonight. Stay safe out there. We'll talk with you soon on NDWX.com.